Alain Delon, the ultimate seducer of French cinema, broke hearts, conquered screens, and built a legend. But at 88, after a stroke, he's trapped in a family drama worthy of his films. His 3 children accuse him of being manipulated by his 17-year companion, Hiromi Rollin, expelled, questioned, dragged to court. Amid complaints of theft, abuse, and cruelty to his dog, one burning question: did he ruin his life by not choosing Romy Schneider, the only one he ever called the love of my life? From the streets of Pigalle to worldwide glory, from torrid passions to eternal regrets, dive into the secret life of cinema's last samurai. This video reveals everything: his torn childhood, mythical loves, Romy's tragedy, and the scandal threatening his legacy. Don't move. The truth starts now. Alain Fabien Maurice Marcel Delon was born on November 8, 1935, in Sceaux, a chic southern suburb of Paris, into a bourgeois but already unstable family. His father, Fabien Delon, ran a small neighborhood cinema. His mother, Edith Arnold, was a pharmacist. The couple lived in a comfortable apartment, but arguments were frequent. War loomed, and with it, the final fracture. In 1939, when Alain was just 4, his parents divorced. It was a shock. Edith quickly remarried Paul Delon, a prosperous butcher charcutier from Bourg-Lorraine, a solid, hard-working man, but cold. Fabien, meanwhile, started a new life with another woman. Alain suddenly found himself in the middle of a blended family, 3 half-brothers on his father's side, 2 on his mother's. He was shuttled between 2 homes, with no anchor, no emotional stability. World War II broke out. Paris was occupied. Sirens, bombings, rationing marked Alain's childhood. But the real trauma came when his parents, overwhelmed by their new lives, placed him in foster care. At age 5, he was handed to a childless couple, the head warden of Fraynes prison and his wife. They lived in a small house adjoining the prison walls. Alain heard everything: prisoners' screams, guards' orders, footsteps in the corridors. One October day in 1945, he was in the garden when the volleys rang out for the execution of Pierre Laval, former Vichy government head, sentenced to death for collaboration. The rifle shots, the screams, the smell of gunpowder seeping through the walls, he would never forget. "I grew up with death beside me," he said decades later in an interview. "It marked me for life." The foster years lasted until the couple's sudden death from a rapid illness. Alain, 8 years old and orphaned at heart, was sent back to his mother in Bourg-Lorraine. But he didn't feel at home. Paul Delon's house was functional, clean, but cold. The smell of raw meat, blood, disinfectant permeated everything. Alain slept in a small attic room with a window overlooking the butcher shop courtyard. He heard the knives, the cleavers, the animals' cries. He felt like a stranger. "I was never a child," he later confessed. "I was a little thug from the start." He had no toys, no affection. He observed, learned to fend for himself. School was a disaster. Enrolled at the Catholic boarding school St. Nicholas d'Igny in the Yvelines, he befriended Gerard Salome, a shy boy who later became actor Gerard Somme. But Alain was unmanageable: fights with other students, nighttime escapes, insolence toward teachers. He was expelled once, then re-enrolled elsewhere. Same story. 6 expulsions in a few years. His parents, exhausted, gave up on traditional education. At 14, he was permanently expelled. His mother, pragmatic, apprenticed him to her husband. Alain earned his charcutier certificate at 14. He cut, packaged, sold. He made a living. He was independent. But he dreamed of elsewhere, of freedom, of adventure. That's when he first touched acting. A friend of his father, Olivier Bourguignon, shot an amateur short film titled Le Rapt. Alain, 14, played a thug. He had an angelic face, piercing blue eyes, magnetic presence. The director was stunned. "This kid has something unique," he said. Alain didn't believe it yet. He kept working at the butcher shop. But the idea took root. One day, he tried the impossible, running away to Chicago with a friend whose uncle lived there. They stole money from the charcuterie till, took the train to Bordeaux. They were caught at the station. Back to Bourg-Lorraine, severe punishment. But the urge to escape never died. At 17, anticipating mandatory conscription, he enlisted in the French Navy. He wanted to see the world, escape the butcher shop, the family. Posted to the Maritime Training Center in Pontryagin, Brittany, he discovered military discipline, dawn wake-ups, forced marches, corporal punishment. He was rebellious, but he learned. In 1953, he was sent to the signal school in La Bourmette, near Toulon. There, he made his first serious mistake, stealing equipment with comrades. The Navy offered a choice, early discharge or 3 to 5 extra years of service. He chose the first, but was sent to Saigon anyway, in French Indochina, amid war. There, he was assigned to protect the arsenal. He saw death up close, ambushes, street fighting, comrades killed before his eyes. He developed a fascination with firearms after watching Touche Pas au Grisby with Jean Gabin in a makeshift cinema. Gabin was a man. A real one. I wanted to be like him, he said. He admired virility, the code of honor, silence. But another theft, a jeep, caught up with him. Arrested, tried, he was discharged from the Navy in 1956. He returned to France with a criminal record, deep resentment toward his parents, who had signed his enlistment permission, and no future in sight. He cut ties with his family. He wouldn't reconnect until 1961, thanks to his younger brother Jean-François, who wrote a touching letter, "You're my brother. Come back. We need you." Back in Paris, Delon lived on the streets. He slept at the Hotel Regina on Rue de Rivoli, a modest place. He took odd jobs, dock worker at Les Halles, hauling meat crates from 4 a.m., waiter in a café near the Champs-Élysées, serving tourists and bourgeois. There he met Dalida, the future French singing icon. They became neighbors in the same building, then friends. Later lovers. She was already famous, he was unknown. She encouraged him, "You have a face. Do something with it." In the nights of Pigalle and Montmartre, he plunged into the underworld. Smoky bars, nightclubs, backrooms. He hung out with thugs, gigolos, prostitutes. One man took him under his wing, Carlos, a charismatic gay ex-boxer, a respected underworld figure. Carlos taught him the street code, honor, silence, respect, loyalty. Delon was fascinated. He became a regular at orgies, gambling, schemes. With his angelic face and athletic body, he attracted women and men. Several prostitutes kept him, paying for meals, clothes. He didn't hide it. "Back then I was living." "Really?" he said years later. He had no morals, no limits. He was free. But everything changed in 1957. At the Cannes Film Festival, talent scout Madame Novaris spotted him in the crowd. She was with an Italian producer. "You have an extraordinary face. You should act." Delon laughed. He'd never taken acting classes. He didn't even have a high school diploma. But he agreed to a screen test in Rome, paid by the producer. He took the train alone. In Rome, he faced the camera. Director Yves Allégret was dazzled. He offered Delon his first role in Quand la femme s'en mêle. Delon was 22. No training. But he had it. That presence. That gaze. That intensity. The next year, 1958, he filmed Christine with Romy Schneider. She was 19, already a star in Germany thanks to the Sisai trilogy. He was unknown. Their meeting was electric. On set, glances, silences, gestures. Dinners, walks, kisses. The media dubbed them Europe's fiancés. Paparazzi, magazine covers, official engagement on March 20th, 1959. They were young, beautiful, in love. They moved in together in Paris. But Romy's family opposed fiercely. Her mother, Magda Schneider, an authoritarian actress, saw Delon as a threat. "He'll destroy you. He's not for you," she said. German media called Romy a traitor for leaving Austria and her princess image. Delon exploded with Plein Soleil in 1960, René Clément's adaptation of the talented Mr. Ripley. He played Tom Ripley, a cold manipulator, seducer, killer. The film was a global triumph. He became a star. In 1961, Luchino Visconti cast him in Rocco and His Brothers. Special Jury Prize at Venice. In 1963, The Leopard with Burt Lancaster and Claudia Cardinali. Delon was at the top. He worked with the greatest, Melville, Verneuil, Losey. He became the icon of French cinema, exported worldwide. But his private life was chaos. He had parallel affairs. In 1961, he met Nico, Velvet Underground singer and Andy Warhol muse. She got pregnant. Their son, Christian Aaron Delon, was born August 11, 1962. Delon refused to recognize him. The child was raised by his mother and Delon's parents. Christian tried twice to legally establish paternity, in 2001 and 2019, without success. He died of a heroin overdose in May 2023 at age 60, leaving a photography career and deep resentment. In 1963, Delon met Natalie Barthélemy, a divorced model known as Natalie Dunn. He publicly announced their engagement at a press conference. But he kept seeing others, Marie Laforêt and Margaret Lana Wood. In 1964, Natalie was pregnant. Delon married her on August 13, 1964, at the Neuilly Town Hall. Their son Anthony was born September 30th. But the marriage was already cracked. Natalie knew Delon still loved Romy. He cried talking about her. He kept her photos. His heart was elsewhere, she said years later. They divorced February 14, 1969. Delon paid dearly, alimony, apartment, car. But he was free. He racked up conquests. In 1967, he had a brief affair with Dalida. They'd been friends since 1955, neighbors on the Champs-Élysées. Their relationship was passionate but short. Dalida was already a global star. In 1968, he filmed La Piscine with Romy Schneider, Jane Birkin, and Maurice Ronet. The tension was palpable. Romy was married to Harry Mahan. Delon was with Mireille Darc. But on set, passion reignited. The love scenes were scorching, almost real. The public was mesmerized. The film was a worldwide hit. Mireille Darc entered his life in 1968. Actress, beautiful, intelligent, witty. Their relationship lasted until 1982. The longest, most stable. They never married. We didn't need a piece of paper, Delon said. But Mireille wanted a child. Delon refused. She miscarried in 1972. Their couple crumbled. They stayed friends until Mireille's death in 2017. Meanwhile, Delon collected lovers, and Paralade, Catherine Blaney, Madly Bamy, Guadeloupean dancer met on La Piscine. He lived a complex love triangle with Darc and Bamy. In 1971, Bamy left Delon for Jacques Brel, becoming his final companion. She inspired the 1974 film Les Scènes de Glace. In 1987, Delon met Rosalie van Bremen, a Dutch model 20 years younger, on the set of his music video Come au Cinema. They had 2 children, Anushka, November 25, 1990, and Alain Fabien, March 18, 1994. They lived happily between Paris, Geneva, and Douchy. But in 2001, Delon ended it. I need solitude. I can't be in a couple forever, he said. Rosalie was devastated. The children stayed with their father. He never married Romy. But, because I was a bastard, he said in a 2018 TV interview. In 2009, he told a journalist, I regret not marrying her. She was the love of my life. The only one. Romy Schneider, born Rosemarie Magdalena Albach on September 23, 1938, in Vienna, was raised in an acting family. Her mother, Magda Schneider, was a 1930s German film star. Her father, Wolf Albach-Reddy, an Austrian actor. After their divorce, Magda remarried a restaurateur. Romy grew up in her mother's shadow, who managed her career like a business. At 15, she debuted in When the White Lilacs Bloom Again. At 17, she exploded with Sisai in 1955. The film and its sequels drew 25 million viewers. She became Austria's sweetheart, a symbol of purity. But she suffocated. She wanted more. In 1958, she accepted Christine in Paris, produced by a French company. She met Delon. Love at first sight. She left everything, Germany, her family, her good girl princess career. German media called her a traitor. In France, she was adored. She learned French in 3 months. She worked with the greatest, Visconti, Wells, Preminger, Losey. She became a European sex symbol with Boccaccio, 70. She tried Hollywood, Good Neighbor Sam with Jack Lemmon, What's New Pussycat, with Woody Allen. But she returned to Europe. Delon cheated. In 1963, he left for Mexico to film Melody en su Sol with a pregnant Natalie. He left a note on their apartment mirror, I'm leaving with Natalie. I won't return. Goodbye. Romy was devastated. She attempted suicide by cutting her wrists. A friend saved her. She survived but was never the same. She married twice. First to German director Harry Mayen in 1966. They had a son, David, in 1966. The marriage lasted 5 years. Harry suicided in 1979. Then she married her secretary Daniel Biasini in 1975. They had a daughter, Sarah, in 1977. But the couple exploded. Tragedy followed. In 1981, her 14-year-old son David died impaled on a gate while climbing a wall. Romy collapsed. She drank, took pills, barbiturates. She kept acting but was broken. On May 29, 1982, she was found dead in her Paris apartment, sitting at her desk. Officially heart attack. Many say suicide. She was 43. Delon was shattered. He organized her funeral in Boissy-Saint-Sauveur. He wrote a letter in German, buried with her, You were never more beautiful. See, I learned a few German words because of you. I love you, my love. He had David's body exhumed and buried beside her. He never recovered. Today, at 88, Delon lives reclusively at La Brûlerie, a 30-hectare estate in Douchemont-Corbin, Loire. He suffered a stroke in July 2019 while in Switzerland. Operated in Paris, then rehab. He walks with a cane. Speaks slowly. He said goodbye to cinema in 2018. I'm done. I've done it all. But the scandal erupted in 2023. Hiromi Roland, 66, Japanese-born, lived with him since 2006. She was an assistant director. They met in 1989 on a film set. She worked on The Return of Casanova, 1992, and the series Frank Riva, 2003 to 2004. Delon called her my companion in a 2021 TV documentary. They attended Jean-Paul Belmondo's funeral together in September 2021. Douchey neighbors often saw them, golf cart rides, dinners at Auberge du Terroir, where Delon had a reserved table by the fireplace. But his children, Anthony, 58, actor and director, Anuchka, 33, actress, Alain Fabian, 29, actor and model, rejected her. They saw her as a paid caregiver who overstepped. They accused her of wanting a share of the inheritance. On July 5, 2023, they had her forcibly expelled. Security agents hired by the children removed her from the property. Her belongings, clothes, jewelry, documents, were dumped in the driveway. She was questioned for 6 hours by police in Montargis. 2 complaints were filed against her. 1. Harassment, physical and psychological abuse. 2. Theft, animal cruelty. She allegedly mistreated Delon's Belgian shepherd Lobois and sent him to a kennel. The children claimed she controlled his calls, messages, mail, prevented them from seeing him since 2019, manipulated him for money, isolated him after his stroke, didn't inform them of his November 2021 fall, requiring stitches. They said in December 2022, Delon signed a handwritten statement refusing to marry her or leave her anything. A 3rd complaint is in preparation. Hiromi Roland fought back. She filed a 39-page dossier with the prosecutor. She accused the children of being absent from their father's life, of manipulating him since his stroke, of wanting the inheritance, estimated at 250 million euros, of defaming her. She said she devoted 17 years to Delon, that they were a couple, that she was expelled without cause. She no longer has access to the property or her personal belongings, including money and valuables. The investigation is ongoing under Montargis prosecutor Jean-Cédric Go. Judicial police and gendarmes searched her Chourison's apartment. No charges yet. Her lawyer, Yassine Bouzrou, stated, Ms. Rowland answered all accusations. She was not an employee but Mr. Delon's legitimate companion. Delon himself remains silent publicly. He named Anuchka as executor of his will. He lets his family handle it. He lives alone with his memories, dogs, paintings. He sold works by Dufy and Delacroix for £8 million in 2022. His fortune? Immense. Films. Over 100 record paychecks in the 60s to 70s. Real estate. La Brûlerie, Paris apartment, Swiss residence, tax-exempt. Businesses, restaurants, football club, he owned FC Bourges, sunglasses line in Asia. Royalties. His films still air on TV, DVD, streaming. In 1968, he was linked to the Markovic scandal. His Serbian bodyguard Stevan Markovic was murdered. Rumors of a compromising video with the future president's wife, Pompidou. Delon was questioned, cleared. He bought La Brûlerie in 1971 to isolate himself. Today he lives alone. With his regrets. Romy. I was very, 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 very handsome, he said in 2018. All women were crazy about me from 18 to 50. But he only loved once. Truly. And he didn't marry her.